technology development centers in frontier areas of research to make students as entrepreneurs. We have already started an innovation center in our college. Somebody is joining in between them. NEP focuses on structural change of our current educational system. So when we focus on entrepreneurship, we have to discuss the national innovation and startup policy. So the webinar does not discuss anything about NEP 2020, since that is out of our topic. We focus only on innovation, startup, and entrepreneurship. There will be a question and answer round where our students can clear their doubts in discussion with the expert in the end of the session. First of all, let me allow to introduce our chief guest to you. Dr.Abdul Khaliq Rasheed is currently an assistant professor at the Department of New Energy Science and Engineering, Xiamen University, Malaysia. Previously, he was a senior research fellow at the Graphene and Advanced 2D Materials Research Group at Sanaway University, Malaysia. Dr. Rasheed received his undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering from Anna University, India in 2010. He completed MS degree at the International Islamic University, Malaysia in 2012 and PhD from the University of Nottingham in 2017. He also worked in IIT Madras in 2009, and we both presented research work in King Abdullah University, Saudi Arabia in 2009. Currently, his research work includes nanolubricants, nanobioheat transfer, tribology, sustainable and clean energy technologies. Dr. Rasheed is a co-founder of Micrato Technologies, a company specializing on graphene-based lubricants funded under the National Graphene Action Plan of Malaysia, and also co-founder IT Expert Consultancy in Malaysia. He has one patent and more than 20 papers in peer-reviewed international journals. He is also recipient of various awards and has been an invited speaker in various international conferences, seminars, and technical forums. He is a member of Malaysian Tribology Society. Besides engineering courses, Dr. Rasheed teaches entrepreneurship and sustainable developments in Xiamen University and other online forums. I hope you all will listen him and learn the art of entrepreneurship from him. I assure you all that this meeting will be profitable for you in every aspect. Friends, this is all from me. Thank you all for being such a patient listener. Now, I would like to invite our principal, sir, to preside over the meeting and to deliver the presidential address. Thank you all.
Okay. Good afternoon. Karim, audible?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, okay. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
Most respected resource person for today's webinar, Dr. Abdul Khaliq Rasheed, Assistant Professor, Xiamen University, Malaysia. Dear faculty members, like Dr. Abdul Karim, Dr. Abdul Rasheed, Dr. Swisha, and others, and dear students, and dear participants from other institutions and centers. I'm very happy to see that PSMO College faculty members are taking keen interest in giving ideas about entrepreneurship, to develop entrepreneurship among student community. By giving focus on this aim at college level, one important body is constituted named as PRIICE, PSMO College Research Innovation and Incubation Center for Entrepreneurship. And also under the jointly organized with the Institutions Innovation Council, IIC and PRIICE jointly organizing this webinar for students, those who are interested in entrepreneurship. It is very clear that in connection with the recently formed Higher Education Department under the Government of India, and also with the institution of National Education Policy, many efforts under various platforms started to develop or to motivate students in this particular area. All these efforts are aiming to make some innovations or to develop entrepreneurship among students of higher education institutions. In this aim, today's webinar on the topic NEP with the focus on innovation and entrepreneurship. Dr. Karim already mentioned this webinar is not connected with the issues connected with NEP. Presently, many webinars are organized at different platforms in connection with the institution of NEP now. All these are with the issues or other problems connected with NEP. But this is something different. This webinar is mainly for innovation and entrepreneurship. And we congratulate Dr. Karim and other faculty members for making good effort among students in this area. And also, I thank Dr. Abdul Rasheed for being with us for this webinar in this afternoon. And also for the awareness of our resource person, sir. This is one of the oldest colleges affiliated to University of Khaliq. This college situated in Malappuram district. That's a northern part of Malabar region of Kerala. This college established 53 years back in 1968 under the Tirarangadi Muslim Orphanage Committee, an institute that is keeping a lot of values in the present scenario also. With these words, I conclude my presidential address, and also because I have some official formalities to finish. That is why for chairing the session towards the end, I entrust Dr. Abdul Karim that duty also. And also with these words, I invite Dr. Abdul Rasheed for his presentation. Thank you very much. Karim.
Sir. Khaliq Rasheed, sir?
Yes,
Can
you hear me?
Yes.
Right. First of all, assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon to everyone. I would like to begin by expressing my deepest gratitude to Dr. Aziz for his opening remarks. It's truly a privilege to be speaking with the college students, which is as old as 50 years. So it's truly an honor, and thank you so much for the invitation. So let me begin by also thanking my friend. In fact, this was an extraordinary introduction we had with each other. In fact, an encounter which was truly, happened by surprise. So Dr. Abdul Karim and myself met in Riyadh 10 years ago, I believe. And here we are again on a platform sharing, knowledge with each other. So once again, thank you so much, Dr. Abdul Karim, for inviting me. And also I would like to thank Dr. Abdul Rasheed, faculty members, and all the students for taking part in this session. So with those brief remarks, let me start my presentation. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet, sir.
Can you see my screen now?
Ah, yes, yes.
All right.
Okay.
So in the next 40 to 50 minutes, what I'm going to do is share with you some basic fundamentals regarding startup entrepreneurship, because I believe most of the people who are attending this session are students, and perhaps students who have some idea about what is startup entrepreneurship, but not really aware of the entire process. So what we will see in this presentation is basically the evolution of value creation. What is the meaning of value and how it all started, right? Second, we will see what is the status quo in terms of startup entrepreneurship, in terms of businesses around the world. Where are we right now exactly? Then I'll give you some deeper understanding and insights on what is startup, how the process happens, where to start, how to start, what is the process involved, and so on and so forth. I'll take you through the entire cycle, and then why you should be, as a student, why you should be taking startup entrepreneurship seriously, and are you supposed to take it up right now, is a very important question. I'll try to shed some light on that as well. And then I'll also be talking about a little bit on how is the market, because everybody seems to work on a startup. Is there any scope for you? Is there any opportunity left at all? So it's something, this is a question that boggles everybody's mind. So inshallah, I'll try to spend some light on this as well. Finally, I'll give you some insights on the funding opportunities, right? And at the end, if you have any questions, you can ask me, as well as in the middle of my discussion, if you have any questions, if you'd like to interrupt me, by all means, please do so. I would welcome that as well. So let's look into this beautiful slide put up by startup founders and founders.com.
Rasheed,
Yes.
sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, yes.
Excuse me. Yeah, that screen is not seen, sir.
You can't see my screen?
You may share it.
Okay, let me
Yeah.
do it again.
In the beginning, it is okay, but whenever you start your presentation, it is not seen.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Can you see now?
Ah, yes, yes.
It's okay now.
Okay.
It's
So
okay.
this is the outline. I suggest the students to take a snapshot of the screen right now, because if you have this snapshot, perhaps you can follow through my presentation. So this is going to be my discussion revolving around, okay? This is the outline of my talk. So now let's talk about how this whole, stuff related to business evolved, right? If you see back in, say, for example, prehistoric period, right? I hope you can follow my pointer on the screen. So it all started with hunters, right? People wanted to survive, so they used to hunt animals. And then there was a time people discovered how to grow vegetables, how to grow stuff. So they became growers from being hunters. Then came establishment of civilizations. So people started, organizing things themselves. So whatever they cultivated, they wanted to protect. So they appointed some soldiers as warriors, right? And there, in that time, they could go and plunder, other communities' wealth that was cultivated through agriculture and maybe, some other processes. Then came a period near 1200 AD, right, or what we call CE, whereby the craftsmanship became popular. It came into existence, whereby people started, doing all kinds of crafts. People started making stuff. People, would be making things using wood, iron, and so on and so forth. Then came, perhaps this is where the first in history, the first time where you saw entrepreneurs, coming into existence. So it happened roughly in the year, perhaps, during the period 1500 AD, right? So they wanted to, they wanted to actually commercialize whatever the craftsmen produced. They wanted to go and sell it to other people. and as a result make some money out of their efforts as well as as self efforts combined. So this is how things started, right? Then came explorers, merchants, people then started to mechanize things because they were really good in producing, right? They were producing in mass quantity, so they wanted to further produce in large quantities. So what they did is they tried to mechanize things. They deployed machines. They made sure that some kind of automation could be done so that whatever numbers they could produce initially could be amplified in big numbers. So that happened, and then with the discovery of electricity and machines, subsequently motors, engines, and so on and so forth, then came into existence the industrial revolution, or industrialization of all those small workshops, warehouse, and so on. Then in the early 19th century, when oil was discovered, the game turned into something totally different, right? And thereupon, if you notice in the last 100 years, 200 years, the kind of development the human civilization has seen is completely unprecedented. The way things have evolved, especially in the last few decades, has been even more, amazing, right? Then after the exploration of oil, after the discovery of oil, we started giving the industries the corporate structure. A lot of financial institutions came into existence, and after all this journey, we came to a situation where we identify small companies being founded by one or two individuals as startups. If you see this whole process, right, from the hunter all the way to where we are today, whereby we're talking about startups, in this all process there is a common denominator. And if you see what is it, it's all about how humans created value, right? So if you were to take, if you were to have one takeaway from today's presentation, then it will be how to sell value, right? I want you to remember this particular phrase. I want you to understand, if you are going to do business or if you're going to do startup in future, you need to understand one thing, that your business should be centric not to products, not to services, not to anything else, but to value. Why people become successful in whatever business they do is because of the value they create, right? If you want to become, for example, a millionaire, you need to really, really discover where value lies for your customers and your clients. All right, so with those remarks, let me also take you through what happened in the recent past, in the last 200 years, right? So it all started with the Industrial Revolution 1, right? Whereby the use of steam power and mechanization of production happened, as I described here. So we are taking a deeper look into what happened, right, in the past 200 years. Then the Industrial Revolution 2 was all about mass production, the assembly lines, the discovery of electricity, and so on and so forth happened, right? And then came the Industry 3.0, whereby it was all about partial automation using computers and control systems. Where we are today is something so amazing, right? We are at the brink of fourth industrial revolution. So what is the meaning of fourth industrial revolution? In this revolution, where we are sitting at the crossroads between industry 3.0 and 4.0, it's a very, very interesting time in history, right? Whereby we are anticipating that in future, the way humans used to function would become obsolete, meaning there will be interaction between cyber, physical, and biological systems. Let me further explain, right? Let me further simplify for your understanding. You have cyber system, internet, you have cloud computing, you have data analytics, you have all kinds of advanced programming, all those things on one side. That those cyber systems will be linked with the physical system. For example, you're living in your houses, in your bungalows, in your for example, terrace houses, apartments, whatever you call it. You would no longer be required to do things the way you used to do in the past with physical means, manual means. Things could be so much automated that your physical intervention would no longer be required, right? So not only that, there won't be a marriage between cyber and physical systems, but also biological. As humans, for example, if we would like to be a part of the greater ecosystem between the cyber system as well as the physical system, such as structures, buildings, cars, factories, etc., etc., you as a human and the animal species, the plant species, everything would be linked with the so-called biological system with the help of the internet, the cyber, and so on and so forth. So this is a very, very interesting period in history. So what does this mean for entrepreneurs, for people who would like to capitalize on this huge opportunity that is unfolding right in front of our eyes, right? So say, for example, if you happen to be a person from nursing background, or you happen to be, because I see a lot of female in the audience, in the attendance today. So you happen to be a nutrition specialist, or you happen to be a fashion designer, or you happen to be some sort of accountant and administrator, whatever, field of interest you might have, you need to figure out in future how can you digitize the existing supply chain, the existing way of doing a particular service, existing products that are being produced? How can you bring in digital technologies and revolutionize that particular industry is something you should start thinking. The reason why I say this is because, I'm sorry for this interruption. Can I request the people who have their microphones on to put that on mute? Mute. Can you mute your microphones, everyone? Because I see some noise in the background. Really appreciate it. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so what happens is when you have discovered a way to digitize or digitally transform your businesses or your uncle's businesses or the company you're going to perhaps work in future using all the cyber system, the internet, and so on and so forth, you are going to land yourself in a huge opportunity. I will, at the end of this talk, I'll tell you why, as students, as budding entrepreneurs, right, as people who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, right, you should be considering the involvement of tech. I'll come to that point towards the end, but I want you to understand that the utilization of digital systems, the utilization of Internet of Things, the utilization of all those fascinating technologies that the people are talking about must be considered for anything you want to do in future. All right. So for example, like I said a while ago, everything would be integrated, right? You will see all sorts of data, all sorts of connections between the way you travel, the way you pay your electricity bills, the way you consume food, the way you do business. Everything would be interconnected in the future, very, very, near future. For example, if you're doing a business, already you can see, right? In India, I believe you have Amazon, you have Flipkart, you have so many things, right? With a single press of a button, you're able to become a part of a huge supply chain, which in the past used to exist in physical form. Now everything is being digitized. This is only the start. This is only the beginning. In the future, you will see a lot more things, becoming digitized, right? So I'll give you some examples down the line in our presentation. Likewise, if you happen to know some people, who are running factories, for example, in Kerala, you have, Indian Oil Corporation, you have Reliance Industries, you have, I don't know, many other industries as well. But in Tamil Nadu, where I come from, right? I'm originally from Tamil Nadu. So we have Ford, we have Hyundai manufacturing plant there. We also have, Volvo in collaboration with Tata, and many other automobile manufacturers. 10 years ago when I went, it was already automated, semi-automated. Now I'm wondering how the production would be happening. If you see the intervention, I mean, 10 years ago when I visited Hyundai, I was so fascinated to visit one of their assembly plants, right? Very, very few humans were working in the assembly of the car or in the manufacturing of a chassis system. If you take a car, open a car, separate into different parts, right? If you separate all the different parts, the very fundamental frame, the structure, that exists in any car is a chassis. We call it as chassis, right? So if you go and see in Hyundai 10 years ago when I visited, it was all automated. Not a single human was present in that particular unit of the factory. So you can imagine now what would have been the situation, right? It would have maybe become so advanced. What you will see in future is perhaps even lesser intervention of human beings in the production. Everything would be digitized. The data would be used in a manner that you would never have imagined, will, being used for the production. So when all these amazing things were happening, right, in the world, suddenly we experienced a pandemic this year, right? In the March, everything was shut down. In India, perhaps it was late because people didn't realize the gravity of situation. People woke up very late. Some of them even mocked, COVID-19. They started blaming, different people and so on. But the fact of the matter is, while so many other countries around the world were trying to prepare themselves and trying to announce lockdown and so on, perhaps India was not really in that situation. But the point I'm trying to mention is, while all this amazing, fascinating evolution of technology, all those developments were happening around the world, we as human race experienced this pandemic. So what does it mean for startups? What does it mean for businesses? What does it mean for young people like yourself and perhaps myself? I don't consider myself to be very old. I'm just 32 years old. so, so the point is, so when the pandemic hit, so many changes have happened. A lot of ecosystems were literally shaken. So much so, multi-billion-dollar industries such as airline industry is nowhere to be seen right now. It's many airlines have been shut down. If you see a lot of hospitality industries, right, many hotel chains around the world have been shut down. If you see, for example, many tourism related industries, right, hospitality, tourism, they are affected big time. Thousands and thousands of people have lost job. So United Nations says the unparalleled economic shock threatens the development hopes and gains, right? It has literally shaken the whole world. It also says, one of the UN reports says, entire generation of 600 million South Asian children. So among the 600 million South Asian children, perhaps, children that live in your town, in your locality, or many other parts of India, perhaps are being included in the 600 million. So can you imagine the kind of devastation they are going to experience down the line in the near future? I mean, I'm really sad that we are going through this, but not only that, right? Not only children. If you take, for example, workers, right, by sector, it may be retail sector. What is retail sector? I'm sure you know what is retail sector, right? The shops, the malls, and everything that you have in your town. Perhaps all those, people have experienced devastating losses, right? Manufacturing, accommodation, transport, finance, health, education, literally everybody, the workers are at risk, not only by sector, but also by region. This pandemic has not impacted only India or, for example, Kazakhstan or, United States. It has literally affected all the countries, including Malaysia, where I am right now, right? It has led to a big devastation. If you were to be more specific, right, to India, the India's unemployment rate rises further according to Economic Times. Unemployment rate lowest since June, right? This is a news article that came in November. Please don't worry, right? I'm not here to put you down, to bring down your morale, right? I'm not here to do that. Rather, I'm here to wake you up by also telling you that as we speak here, in your neighboring state, which is Tamil Nadu, and the hometown, Vellore is my hometown, 75,000 workers, right, belonging to leather industries have been laid off. Meaning people who used to work on a marginal 7,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees don't no longer have any source of income. So this is a big situation. And many of the youth, right, especially the college going children, I mean students, they are really unaware of the situation. So what I'm trying to do is shake you up a little bit, but of course, I'm also trying to give you a ray of hope, right? This is a new BBC News article. I recommend all of you to read this, right? India's coronavirus, the young bearing the brunt of sweeping job losses. You guys are all maybe in second year or third year, I don't know, maybe first year. Down the line, in some of you in few months, some of you in, in a year or two might be looking for a job. And when people have already lost jobs in huge number, thousands and thousands of people has lost jobs, how do you expect to find a job for yourself? But don't lose hope. UN also says that bold and creative solutions are needed for a sustainable post-pandemic economy. So what does it mean? It means that you as an entrepreneur or you as a student should look for innovative solutions, sustainable solutions. Those solutions, perhaps your uncles, your fathers, your peers, your elders perhaps wouldn't be able to think, because they are from a different generation. The way you see the world is totally different from your elders, right? So the point I'm trying to make is there is a huge opportunity despite the pandemic has hit us, despite the fact that the economies around the world have been suffering, right? Despite the fact that thousands and thousands of people have lost jobs, the good news is the people who are affiliated with startup, they have seen amazing opportunity. For example, Forbes, right, one of the leading magazines around the world, Forbes says with the pandemic, India's startup ecosystem has emerged stronger, while every industry, right, from finance to construction to marine to any industry, you name it, when all the industries are suffering, of course, except the medical industry, which is making huge money at this point of time, all the other industries are suffering, except startup. If you look at the startup, right, India's startup ecosystem has emerged stronger with an almost 50% increase in startups as in early November 2020. Isn't this a good news for all of you? Because you guys, have that particular attitude towards startup. Perhaps your uncles might not really fit into startup, right? Not only that, Forbes, the article in Forbes, you can perhaps Google with these keywords, right? In the coming years, according to the Forbes, in the coming years, startups will bring disruptive solutions. So what is the meaning of disruptive solution? Disruptive solutions are those solutions which people did not perceive in the past, right? For example, how many of you thought that Swiggy, for example, would come and take away the business or take away profits which previously the restaurant owners would be amassing for themselves, right? Now this Swiggy, Zomato, I don't know what not, in India you have so many startups, food-based startups. They are making money just by connecting different people, different businesses, right? They have made some connections with the entire supply chain, and as a result they have taken a share of profit from different companies, different businesses. So this is what is called as disruptive solution. It completely disrupts the way markets, the way businesses used to function. Previously you will have to walk all the way to the restaurant, and if you want to order, for example, 2-3 different types of food, you will have to call different restaurants or go physically to different locations, drive, take your car, or if you don't have a car, perhaps take a taxi or take tuk-tuk or auto in India, right? So you had to go for all those things. But right now, at the comfort of your mobile phone, you can simply make the choices and you can make the payments, right? Previously, imagine that if you have to make a payment, right, you have to go to the banks and go through all those long queues and fill up the forms, etc., etc. But now everything has changed. So this is what we refer to as disruptive solutions. So in the coming years, according to Forbes, the startups will bring disruptive solutions to change the way we live, consume, and also communicate, right? Also, right, if you see now WhatsApp, and now if you see we are talking, I'm sitting maybe, I don't know how many thousands of kilometers away from you, but we are able to speak as if we are in front of each other, right? And these companies, the startup companies, could well see a hockey stick growth path to keep India on track to have bred 100 unicorn companies. Do you know what is unicorn? I don't know how many of you know what is unicorn. Unicorn is a company which is worth $1 billion, right? So by 2025, we are already in 2020, right? End of 2020. So in 5 years' time, India is going to produce, according to Forbes, which is a very, very highly valued magazine, 100 unicorns are going to come into existence. Why can't you be one of the founders of those 100 unicorn companies? Perhaps, yes, you could be one of them, right? So what I'm saying is, I want you to imagine being able to develop a business pitch. What is business pitch? Pitch is, a session, a presentation, whereby you are trying to convince the investors, the potential investors, right? Being able to develop a business presentation contributing to sustainability with a great value and business model in just 10 sessions. Do you think it's possible? My answer would be yes. And I'll tell you how towards the end of the session. In just 10 sessions, if you sit for, with all dedication, 10 days continuous in a row, 10 days, I'm sure you can come up with a startup idea, and not just idea, with a complete plan. I'm not joking, right? I have done this time and again. I have done this. I've taught almost like 4 batches now, the entrepreneurship course. And in 3 courses, we have managed to produce so many startup pitches. So now let's take a short quiz, because I don't want to keep it as a monologue. I want you guys to interact with me in between. So let's take a quiz. How many of you know who's this guy on the screen right now? If you know who's this guy, type your answers in the chat box. Can you all do that? If you know who this guy is, type your answer in the chat box. Dr. Abdul Karim, maybe you can moderate.
Yes, sir. Yes.
It's okay. If you don't know, you can type, I don't know. Come on,
I don't
guys.
know.
I'm Dr. Karim. I'm asking you to moderate. Please help me moderate. Maybe you can encourage your students to answer, to comment.
ലൈനിലുള്ളവര് ടൈപ്പ് ചെയ്യട്ടോ. നിങ്ങൾ ആൻസർ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അറിയോ? ആളറിയോ?
Yeah.
ഇയാളറിയോ?
If answer Ariyum, type cheya. Did I speak it correct?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. All right. It's okay. I don't know how many of you did type. Okay, no problem. If you don't know, here is the answer. So he is John Collins. He is 29 years old. He is the president and founder of Stripe. If you want to know what is Stripe, just Google what is Stripe, and you will come across the company building softwares to help online credit card payments. So he's the founder of a company at 29 years old, which helps to facilitate the online credit payments, right? And guess what? His company is valued at $35 billion. I'm not joking, right? He's just 30 years old. If you have even 3 billion, you're maybe 10, 15, 20 generations can sit and eat, without having to work. His company is valued as 35 billion. Okay, let me give you an easy question now. How many of you know this guy? How many of you know this guy? If you don't want to type, you can also, speak it out. You can speak out your answer. If you know this guy, who this guy is, you can type out your answer. Let me see how far the students from Kerala are how good you guys are in entrepreneurship. If you know the answer, who this guy is, please type it out. Come on, guys. Dr. Karim.
അറിയുന്നവരുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ടൈപ്പ് ചെയ്യട്ടോ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഓൺ ആക്കിയിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾ സംസാരിക്കാം.
Come on, guys from PSMO college. Come on, I have much higher expectations from you guys. Come on, type out your answers. He's a very popular guy, supposed to be very popular in India. Okay, if you don't know, he's Ritesh Agarwal. He is just 26 years, right? He's the founder of Oyo Hotels. but maybe in Kerala, you guys are in Malappuram, right? So in Malappuram, I believe you must have seen some hotels with the name Oyo written in red color, right? He's a millionaire at 22 years, right? So which means by the time you finish your final year, you guys must be making few millions, right? Today, right, before COVID hit, right? I'm giving you all these numbers before the COVID hit India, right? Or COVID hit around the world. So he operates the second largest chain of hotels around the world with 43,000 hotels around the world, right? He came up with a solution to those poor performing hotels. And his company was valued at 10 billion, right? He's Indian, and he didn't even, finish his college. At 22, he was already, his company was valued at 10 billion. Let's see who this guy is. Who knows who this is? In case you don't know, he is Mudassir Sheikha, right? He is the co-founder of Careem. I'm sure from Kerala, many people, right, are in the Middle East. So you guys must be aware of Careem. Careem is a taxi, right? Like Ola. You have Ola in India, right? Uber, Ola. So Careem is one of those, uh, e-hailing apps, right? What he did is something very, very amazing, right? Careem was taken over by another big giant. So when they Uber bought over Careem in 2019, 200 employees received millions because 200 employees were given small share in the company, right? So can you imagine you starting a company in 2025, it becomes worth so many billions, and you have, say, for example, from your college, maybe you took few of your friends as your employees, or to help you and assist you with those small fractions, 0.5%, 1%, 2% of your company can be worth so many millions, and you taking along your friends is actually helping them becoming millionaires as you pursue your own dreams. So with that, let me also ask you, let me also tell you a story, right, about myself and a colleague that I came in contact. So I am the co-founder of a company called Micrato Technology. So we sell engine oil, right? So this is our company brand name. But the point why I'm mentioning this here is because I happened to meet this guy. His age is maybe right now is 24, but when I met him, he was 19 years old, right? 3 years ago when I met him, he was just 19 years old. He's again, he gave up his master's degree opportunity in Oxford. I'm sorry, I'm not sure, Oxford or Cambridge. He gave that up. I think Oxford. He gave that degree up, master's degree up in Oxford, and he came down to Malaysia, which is his hometown, and he started something called Jom Run. Can you imagine what is this startup? This startup initially it was perceived to reward those people who run and jog. If you run, you will gain points, and with those points you can get some rewards from so many companies out there. That was the initial plan, and eventually, because he discovered that idea is not working, he made some changes, and later on he changed his business model, and eventually last year his revenue was 24 million. And this year, in January and February, each month he made 24 million each month, right? So, and he happened to sit next to me. We were, discussing our works together and so on, while we both were a part of an accelerator. What is an accelerator? Accelerator is like, institute which helps you develop your business ideas, grow your startup ambitions, help you and guide you and assist you, also give you perhaps some small amount of money to turn your idea into a company, right? So we happen to share space in a startup accelerator, and that's how in 2 years time he became a millionaire, right in front of my eyes. So this is one of my motivations why I'm still being persistent in pursuing my entrepreneurship ambitions. So with that, let me ask you some questions, right? Take a piece of paper, all of you, and I want you to answer these following questions with only true or false, right? The first question, Take a piece of paper and answer only true or false. The first question is, you are absolutely obsessed with a passion for whatever you do. If the answer is true, write true. If the answer is false, write false, right? Second question, you absolutely hate obeying rules, following others, or working in a team. For example, perhaps your college might have loads and loads of rules, or perhaps some of your lecturers here might be subjecting you to a lot of rules and regulations. Perhaps you hate them, but you don't tell them anyway. But you're one such person. Write your answer here. Number 3, you always see things differently to others. Even when you were a child, you used to see things differently. Perhaps you are not really from the same, you don't really share the same bandwidth with your friends. The fourth question, you're very careful with money, watching every single rupee, right? You don't spend just like that. You see where to spend, how to spend, and all that. Fifth question, you are very independent. You don't really depend on everyone, right? You're very independent. Question number 6, your goal is the highest salary possible. After your college degree in PSMO college, you want to end up maybe in a big company, Infosys or Microsoft or Google, or perhaps maybe in one of the Indian state organizations such as ISRO or DRDO or something like that. Question number 7, you are naturally a risk taker. Question number 8, you're always optimistic. Question number 9, failure has no place for those designed for success. Designed for success. Question number 10, last question, right? People describe you as stable, reliable, and likely to succeed. So go through all these questions and give an answer either with a true or false. Okay, now I'm going to tell you what's the answer, right? For question 1 to 5, the answer is true. And if your answer for 6 to 10 is false, this is what it means, right? 10 out of 10, you're probably the next big story. Perhaps I'm talking to one of the multi-millionaires or billionaires, perhaps in India. If your answer is 8 out of 10, you're almost there, right? You just need to brush up your idea a little bit, and then you need to find your co-founder and be persistent, persevere on your entrepreneurship ambition. If your score is 6 out of 10, you need to perhaps work on your idea, sit down, think what is the business you want to do, and perhaps develop some entrepreneurial skills, and you will get going eventually, right? If your score is 4 out of 10, you need to get qualified, right? You need to read more. You need to really look for other people who are so successful in their entrepreneurship, right? And perhaps you need to read a lot of stories about how people became rich at a very, very young age. Perhaps how female entrepreneurs in India are so successful. If you go and just Google, right, female entrepreneurs in India, you will get huge list of female entrepreneurs who are so successful. If your score is 2 out of 10 or 0, right, it's never too late, right? Anyway, what's the big deal? Here you're attending this session to get inspired, right? You're already there, right? So you need to buckle up and you need to get started. So with that, a pinch of motivation, what I want to do is to give you an introduction, very, very brief introduction to what is entrepreneurship. So far, we try to understand what is, how the businesses evolve, what is the history of value creation, what's going on in the pandemic, and what is the opportunity in India. 100 unicorn companies are expected to come into existence by 2025, and you also self-evaluated yourself, whether you're meant to be an entrepreneur or not. Now is the time to get into a little bit of entrepreneurship fundamentals. So before I do that, I want to pause here and ask if you have any question. Anybody has any questions so far? Dr. Abdul Karim, how much more time do I have?
Yeah. We hope this ends at 4 o'clock. We have 1 hour.
So we have 1 more hour, you mean?
Yeah, it's already 4 o'clock now.
Okay, I'll try to wrap up maybe in another 10 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, I like to tell you the participants that if you lose the connection, I have given another link. You can join the meeting using the another link. I also shared the certificate link. You can click the link and get the certificate. You can continue, Rashid sir.
Okay, I'll keep it brief and try to wrap up. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is entrepreneurship? Uh, I want you to read the second definition that is given here, right? When I say entrepreneurship, right, I'm referring to startup which is tech based. I'm not here to vouch for general entrepreneurship, right? Okay, I want to set up maybe a bakery, or I want to set up, a foundry shop. I want to set up a pharmacy, right? I don't want to do that. I'm here to encourage you to set up technology based startups. So a tech startup is a temporary organization. Do not think just because you founded a company, you registered a company and you bought a domain, right? Domain is www.something.com, right? Whatever name of your company is, you bought a domain, right? Just because you bought a domain, it is not necessary that it should stick to you for your lifetime. Don't ever think like that. A startup is a temporary organization which is designed to search for two things. One is repeatable, and second thing is scalable business model. Meaning, you manage to sold a product, right? Can those people who have their microphones on turn it off, please? Okay, so repeatable, right? You have developed an idea which can be either in the form of a product or a service. When you sell it to the people, right, either the product or a service, that process can be repeated n number of times. People come by, and you get paid. People come by and you get paid. So this is repeatable. What is scalable? Initially 100 people bought, then 1,000 people are willing to buy, and then the whole graph expands exponentially, right? So this is called scalable. So a tech startup is a temporary organization designed to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. What happens here? For example, you live in the future, you have crazy idea which your uncle doesn't understand, your father doesn't understand, your grandpa doesn't understand, the people around you don't understand. So what do is you determine what is missing in the world and you write it down, right? And firstly, you make a small prototype. Whenever you talk about the tech startup, you have to involve technology. It can be either in the form of an application, it can be a website, or it can be even a microchip, or it can be some kind of sensor, something driven by technology, right? Once you have the prototype, show it to some people and get their feedback. And then once you get some positive feedback about your product or a service, you need to look for a partner, a co-founder. Then you go for a registration and try to bootstrap. I would encourage most of you to try to bootstrap. Try to keep the expenses of your company as low as possible. Whenever you talk about startup, you don't have to go for a big launch, calling an actor or actress, making a full page advertisement on the newspaper. No, you don't have to do all those things in startup. You just need to keep as minimum as possible to try and test whether the business idea you have is working or not. Whether 500 people come regularly on my platform and buy the product and the service or not is what you need to figure out. So once you build the app in the full form or develop the product, in its final shape, and then you launch it, you need to figure out if you are able to get some 1,000 customers, 500 customers, and if they are trying to come back and buy from you again and again and again, right? And then if you are able to do that, you just have to persevere. You just have to keep persistent and focus on your company and see how you can expand and grow. And you need to achieve a minimum of 5% growth every week or every month, because it's very easy. You take a message, what happens, right? In these times, you send a funny message, share it to one person, and it spreads like wildfire. You spread a rumor, right? If you want to malign a person, you just type a message, what, this person is blah blah blah, and the message gets like wildfire, right? In no time it reaches millions and millions of people. Likewise, if the product or the service you offer has tremendous value, if one person likes it, and because he or she feels that the product you offer has a lot of value for them, then they are going to recommend it to their friends and their friends and their friends, and this network or this tree grows infinitely, right? And then you become, overnight people are able to reach thousands and thousands of customers, and that's what we define as success. And if, say for example, you developed an idea, it's not really working, then you have to pivot, you have to stop. You don't have to be persistent, like, it's not working, but still I will pump in more and more and money and, eventually burn myself down. No, it doesn't work like that. You need to stop and then redo your idea and go and relaunch again. So this is how an entire startup journey is. It's very simple, but to master and pioneer this, you need to learn something called lean startup methodology. Take notes, guys. Lean startup methodology. There is an author whose name is Eric Ries, right? E-R-I-C-R-I-C, Eric Ries. So Eric Ries wrote a fantastic book called Lean Startup. You go and read that book to understand this step, right? Whereby you have an idea, you keep it lean, and you try to test your idea, whether the idea is working or not. So you don't need to give up, right? A simple example of lean startup methodology is Angry Birds. I don't know how many of you know what Angry Birds is. Is supposed to be a popular game, right? I'm sure in India you must be downloading and playing it. So Angry Bird was valued 1 billion, meaning it's a unicorn company, right? In London in 2017. So how did it become $1 billion company in 2017? Just by selling game, like people are playing games. So how did it become 1 billion company? So what happened is 3 guys started a company. They made 51 games. Almost all the games didn't, become successful, meaning not many people were interested in those games. So as a result, they were almost broke. They spent so much money in developing a lot of games. Eventually, they broke up. But somehow, they wanted to make one last game, right? So they made one last game and then stretched 10 ideas a day, right? They were discussing and, they were trying to work out and all that. Finally, they ended up making Angry Birds. And that's how their story is. So the point is, if you imagine, say you make one game and make it so big with so much fascinating technology and so on and so forth, and then you pump in millions and millions of money to advertise and so on, and not knowing if people like it or not, you wouldn't be making 51 games. So the point is, this process, right, is called lean startup methodology. You are so lean that even when you made 51 games, you didn't really feel much, heat, right? You didn't really felt much loss. So this is what lean startup methodology can do, and I encourage all of you to read about it, because in the short time I cannot explain that. Likewise, the universities, right, must play a very, very big role. I really appreciate Dr. Abdul Karim and his team for setting up the innovation center in your college, because the universities are supposed to be a platform where not just you learn something, but also you should be building something. If you take, for example, the Europe and the America, you can see here, right, so many deals have been made in a span of 2013 and 2017. So much money has been generated through innovation, startups, and so on and so forth. But if you look at our countries, right, for example, Asia, we are in Asia, right? So within Asia, we have China, we have so many big countries. So combined all these countries, we have a very, very small share. So the point I'm trying to say is, there is a huge room for huge room for development. Our schools and colleges and universities must adapt innovation. They must transform. They must change. So unless the students demand those things, the colleges wouldn't be in a position to develop such platforms for you. So I encourage students to take an active role in that. I mean, this is the story in 2017. In 2013 to 2017. Now these numbers are even bigger. So imagine our situation in the world right now, right? We are nowhere. Likewise, whenever you are working on ideas, make it relevant to what's going on in the world. I'm not sure how many of you know what are the 17 sustainable development goals. In case you don't know, just type 17 SDG, 17 sustainable development goals. So you need to work around the direction where the world is heading. World is heading in a particular direction, and you are alienating yourself and working in a totally different direction. Would you be, relevant to what's going on in the world? Absolutely not. So you need to find out how the whole world is striving together, in order to eradicate poverty, in order to, for example, to protect the life on land, for example, to mitigate the climate change, how the whole world, right, about 180 plus countries have joined together under the 17 goals to mitigate climate, right, climate change. How can you obtain, clean water and sanitation? What are the targets? What the whole world, right, 180 plus countries are trying to do together to achieve clean water and sanitation goals. So you need to figure those things out and come up with a startup idea that can contribute to this. Then you are relevant, then you are destined to become millionaire or billionaire. So coming down to what's available at your doorsteps, in India, the potential for startup is huge. I'm sure you guys have witnessed this in the pandemic. Many of you might not even have used Teams before, Zoom before, but the pandemic forced you to use, all this technologies. You started becoming internet user, and this number is going to exponentially grow further in future. So take also the assistance from accelerators. Look for accelerators, startup accelerators. So what do? They look for, they accept application. If you have an idea, you need to convert that into an application. Then if you're successful in your application, they will fund you, they will give you money. If you don't have investment, it's fine, right? There are people sitting with hot cash to fund brilliant ideas, right? They will help you focus, they will help you learn, they will connect you with different businesses, with different mentors, right? And eventually they will even help you secure even more millions, right? Even many more millions. They will give you funding to achieve even more funding. So this is what is called a startup accelerator. Try to figure out what are the accelerators available in Kerala, in your Malappuram, or in Cochin and other places. And also in India, the number of incubators, startup accelerators, co-working spaces are growing exponentially. If you go to Bangalore, there are so many accelerators, meaning if you just have an idea and if you're committed about it, if you have a team, who are willing to work together, there are people sitting with millions and millions of amount, the cash, willing to fund you, right? So try to find out where are such opportunities in India. And for your information, in 2018, 26.3 billion was secured as private equity deals in India. Can you imagine the number? 26.3 billion. It's a huge number. In 2020, I couldn't get the figure, but this is the figure in 2018. Imagine even if you get a fraction of this for your startup. So the point I'm trying to make is, India is a big country. The outside countries and outside investors think India as a big market. They think India is an abundant opportunity for them to invest in. But you need to have a brilliant idea to be able to secure funding, right? The funding opportunities are huge, guys. And finally, to summarize this whole presentation, make sure what you want to do in your life is entrepreneurship, meaning you want to really achieve something in your life by doing a business, especially by leveraging on technology. Then you figure out, sit and think what kind of business you want to do, but make sure whatever business, right, it can be related to selling vegetables, it can be related to banking, finance, it can be transport, anything you want to do, medicine, health, anything, but make sure the element of technology is involved. Then you do a bit of research on your idea, find out who are your competitors and so on. Once you discover that, write a business plan. Then look for a business structure for your own self, right? Find out who will be your co-founder, who will be your partner, who will assist you in technology, who will advise you, who will be your advisor, and so on and so forth. Then do the paperwork and start your company. That's it. If you want to do it in a proper manner, there is something called business model canvas. I cannot explain this in the short time, but you can go and Google yourself what is a business model canvas. So before you approach any investor, if you have this thing ready, then perhaps you stand a better chance to secure funding. So with that, thank you so much for listening to me, and I really appreciate your patience. I think I dragged a little bit longer. I apologize for that. And if you have any questions, you can ask me now, or you can, using these emails and my WhatsApp number, you can contact me anytime. I'll be more than happy to assist you in my capacity. So with that, I thank you so much, and also thank the college, and I also thank my friend Abdul Karim, Dr. Abdul Karim, for the opportunity. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Abdul Karim.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And now I invite Dr. Abdul Rasheed K for vote of thanks. Before that, if dear students, do you have any doubts? Do you like to ask anything? Dear students, are you interested to interact with the guest? Please come on. Okay, let us wrap up now. Rasheed?
Yeah, thank you, Karim sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Karim sir. Thank you, Abdul Rasheed, sir, Assistant Professor, CMI University, and dear colleagues and students, friends. I'm so happy to thank to the audience, even though we are in mid of our Christmas vacation. Many of you are engaged with your NSS and other, programs. Anyway, it's a very wonderful presentation from the side of Abdul Khalid Rashid sir. It is really thought-provoking and inspiring us. And we are only expecting a very few, one from the million, these kind of programs, because these are the, giving more opportunity, or only to the people who were something different from the many others. So I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to the speaker on behalf of the Innovation Institution Council, Research Innovation Council, for his wonderful talk on the startups and entrepreneurship. And it's really a thought-provoking session to my dear students and fellow teachers. And I am thankful to the our principal, who is always guide and motivate us to lead in front, to organize these kind of programs, and his confidence upon us is very important as far as to organize these kind of innovative programs in our campus. So not last by this, our dear faculty members and students, participants who lay with us in this live webinar and choose us your valuable time and space to spend with us to make this program a wonderful event. Once again, thanks to the principal, our distinguished guests, our president, Dr. Abdul Karim, and all dear dignitaries and participants. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Rashid sir.
Yeah, you're most welcome. Thank you. Really appreciate the invitation. Thank you.